All right, and we are live. Hey, everyone. Sorry, we are starting a couple of minutes late. It's one of those days. You can probably see I just got out of the shower as well. Was feeding the kids and all of that stuff. So I was rushing around. But we are here and we are live, and I am joined by Bullz. We had him earlier. Was it this year still? No, it was last year.
Last year,
Um,
yeah.
I think maybe mid last year. He spoke a bit about Webflow. And as part of that discussion, we kind of also started tangentially, like touching on things around freelancing and so forth, because he's a freelancer. I myself kind of exclusively do contract work, so basically work for myself as well. So, and I think from that we thought it might be good to re-invite him to do a talk just about like kind of what it's like freelancing, things to think about when you're freelancing, and also kind of like how to build your career and grow your career as a freelancer. Um, so just before we dive into that, just worth also just quickly mentioning, so if this is the first time you're tuning in, we are FEDSA, so Front End Engineering and Design South Africa, and we do these once a month. Generally, we have a design focused talk, and we also have a more dev focused talk. And then we also have newsletters that go out. I think ours just went out today, so you can check that out as well. We're kind of all over LinkedIn and YouTube and so forth. All right, so I'm happy to hand over to you, Bullz, for you to do a bit of a quick intro of who you are, and yeah, then we can just straight up dive into it. So I don't know if you maybe want to share your screen, and I'll just pop it up on here.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. Let me just share my
Mm-hmm.
screen. All right,
All
can you
right,
see that? Okay, cool.
100%. I see about me.
Yeah, awesome. It's great to
Hmm.
be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was here last year sometime. I really feel like it was early this year, but anyway, it's great to be back. And today I'll just be sharing my story about freelancing. I'm a freelancer. Share some insights, some stuff from my experience. I wouldn't call myself a pro, but I do have things to share, mostly from mistakes that I've made. So hopefully it'll be a fun discussion. And yeah, so a bit about myself. I'm a Webflow freelancer. So I freelance in the Webflow space. I'm a Webflow developer specifically. Um, and to date, I've probably been freelancing full time now for just over a year. And before that, I used to work for agencies as a full time employee. Yeah, work for a Webflow agency based in Australia. Just to give a brief background, work for another Webflow agency based in Cape Town, actually run by a guy called Robert Smart. I think you guys had him here not too long ago. That was a very cool experience. And before that, I was in the world of WordPress, very interesting world. And yeah, so basically, I'm a front end developer who just found his way in Webflow, and that's what I do right now. So yeah, I'm just here to talk about freelancing. And again, Skulk, feel free to just chip in and ask questions and interject whenever you want.
Cool. I
Um,
need no encouragement, but I will.
Got it. All right. So maybe let's just start off with a brief description on what freelancing is. My understanding of freelancing is doing independent work as a self-employed person. And obviously you can operate through a PTY, a private business, or you can operate as a sole proprietor. But essentially you're not a full-time employee. And yeah, sometimes that looks like a 12-month contract, a 6-month contract, a 1-month engagement, or just a project-based engagement. Or sometimes it could be ad hoc, hourly work here and there. But essentially the idea is you're not a full-time employee for a specific entity. Okay, cool. Very important question. When should you freelance? When is the right time to start freelancing? It's a very interesting question. I have an answer, or a few answers, I should say. And let me start with the first one. The first answer is you should start freelancing when you have acquired a skill and when you have some level of experience. Again, this is just my opinion, right? There are people who would say that you can just jump straight into freelancing with no skill or no experience. I do think it's possible. I do think it's possible for you to just start offering a service and learning as you go. I do feel, though, that is doing things the hard way. because you get to miss out on certain things that you get if you work for an agency, a startup, a small business, or even just working for an established freelancer for a while. There's certain things that you get, one of them being an understanding of how the industry works, right? An understanding of how that specific market that you find yourself in, how it works, how the money flows, where the community hangs out, what are the opportunities, what's coming around the corner. So for me, I think for someone who doesn't have a skill and someone who doesn't have experience, I would always advise get a skill and get experience by, learning a skill and then offer and basically working for an entity, an agency, a startup, an established freelancer, as a part-time worker, as a full-time worker. But the idea is attach yourself to someone or an entity that has more experience than you, because you're going to learn so much faster. You're going to get valuable insights on the industry and the market and how it works and who the players are. And also just you're gonna get a feel for the industry, which is very, very important for you to have when you start officially freelancing. So yeah, that's the first answer. The second answer is you don't have to be, the best skilled person, or you don't have to have 15 years of experience as well. So that's on the other end of the spectrum. You don't have to wait forever to start freelancing. It can be daunting because one of the things is, how are you going to create that consistency that a normal job gives you? And those are some of the things that we're going to talk about this evening. So yeah, let's just talk about pros and cons of freelancing. It's going to be interesting. So one of the reasons why most people get into freelancing is because they want to make more money. They want more freedom. They want a sense of ownership. That's a big one for me. Personal development also is a big one for me. So freelancing does give you these things. Now, on the first two, making more money and on more freedom, I do want to caution that in order for you to make more money as a freelancer, you need to have certain structures in place, right? Your pricing needs to be solid. Your offering needs to be solid. There's a lot of things that you need to put in place, right, before you can start really making more money, whatever more money is, because that is also relative. More freedom as well. You can get to a place where you do have more freedom, but again, you need to structure your business right. Pricing, you need to have a consistent flow of clients and stuff like that. Otherwise, you're always going to be consistently working. And then, sense of ownership. The beautiful thing is you're building your own baby. It's your own business. So there is some pride from that. That is a pro. And then, the last one, personal development. You get to grow. You're forced to learn how to do sales and you're forced to market yourself, which is very important. And those are skills that you wouldn't necessarily learn working in a job where you just have to do one thing. There are some cons, or I should say challenges, that you need to look out for. As I've placed here, we've got late payments, scope creep, and burnout, inconsistent income, clients, and work. So these are some of the challenges that you can face. Some challenges I've faced. They're not really nice. But I'm glad I went through some of these because I've learned a lot. And just a quick one on the late payment, scope creep, and burnout. One of the things that you can do there is just always ensure that you have a contract. That's something that I never used to value when I started freelancing. I always used to take it for granted. And to be honest with you, I was also slightly afraid that, having a contract in place would scare away the client or make them not to want to work with me. But I had to overcome that fear. And also just ensure that the client and myself both know what's going to happen as we do the work, right? What are the payment terms? When is payment expected? Is it 50% upfront? And then when is the project done? And when is that final payment supposed to come in, if that's how you structure your business? So stipulating those things in a contract is very important, even if it makes you slightly uncomfortable. And even if your contract scares away a client, then that's how you know that that's the client that you were not supposed to work with, right? So there is no shame in having a contract. Definitely go for it. Don't be like me. When I was starting out, I never used to worry about contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of really great questions. I might want to pop them up here if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So there's two good ones by Fabian. So first one is So I think he's specifically referring to you previously mentioning that you started out doing WordPress, but I guess this question is applicable to Webflow, any of these type of yeah, someone's mentioning that they're waiting to hear about getting clients. But so so he's asking, like, is freelancing predominantly for kind of WordPress type development and so forth? And if I were to maybe add a bit of my own understanding of the question to that, I would assume that he's asking in terms of, is freelancing predominantly for things that have a very fixed endpoint? So, like, obviously, if you're doing something like WordPress or whatever, depending on the approach that you take, but generally what a lot of people do is there's a fixed point where the site is done and it's handed over. That's obviously not feasible for a lot of things, especially really big products. Like, let's say you're working for Takealot or whatever. I don't even know if Takealot does offer contract work, but like, there's no point where, okay, Takealot is done now, can I get my money? So yeah, like, what is your experience? Like, do you think that freelancing is exclusively just for things that have a fixed endpoint, where there's a handover? And if not, what are kind of other approaches?
No, I definitely think that freelancing is not just limited to things that have a fixed endpoint. I would probably add that it's probably, in my opinion, better suited, or you're in a better position rather, if what you offer is something that needs an ongoing relationship.
Yes.
Because then that means that you don't have to keep on getting new clients all the time. So I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about people who do SEO, paid ads, PPC, Google ads, Facebook ads, copywriting, maybe any kind of writing for newsletters and stuff like that. So that's ongoing work, and you can be a freelancer in that space. And that's a
Yeah.
good position to be in, because then you can set it up as a retainer, you can set it up as some kind of a contract, which is brilliant.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
then you get out of that only having to just work on project-based work.
Yes, I
think
exclusively do retainer work. I don't even consider fixed contract work. So there's that. And I think it's also I think it's also useful to not overly focus on kind of like an artifact driven thing in terms of you work until something is done and handed over. There's also models that I do, as mentioned, I exclusively do retainer work. So that means that, sorry about the noise in the background, the kids are going ballistic. So I exclusively do retainer work, which is that it's like a cell phone contract. You buy up my monthly capacity. So you say you want 10 hours of my capacity each month. You do with that whatever you want, whenever, whatever. Okay. But if you don't use it, sucks to be you. I kept that capacity like open for you. If you didn't use it, I could have given it to someone else. So you pay for that. And it's also just useful. Like, it's like literally the invoice every month is the same. There's no like line items that you need to add up. So just logistically, but it takes a bit of work setting up those type of relationships, especially if you're just starting out. And I think we can talk about clients very soon. Like, it seems everyone's keen for us to talk about how to get clients. But like, to give context, like, one of the clients that I do retainer work for, I've probably been doing now for 6 years, every month. Like, so the amount has changed. I've increased it, decreased it, depending on their needs. But like, I've basically been doing work for them now for almost 6 years on every single month on a retainer basis. So I think it's also like you cultivate these type of relationships. And I've gone through a lot of clients where you don't necessarily are like, I don't want to work with these guys anymore, but you don't actively do any effort on your side. It's almost like, when you're friends with someone and you're like, I don't really want to be friends with this person anymore. And I'm not going to say I'm no longer your friend, but it's just like, I'm not going to put in any more effort from my side following up and whatever. And it just like kind of fizzles out and you don't hear from them again or whatever. And like, over time, you kind of invest more in the ones where you're like, this is kind of the work that I enjoy doing. They value my time, and it's just a mutual, respectful relationship, which like, that gets you pretty far. Yeah, so I'm happy for you to continue. We can maybe stop in a couple of minutes again and talk about the client spot. I would assume you probably have something in your slides on that.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yes.
That's
So
the
let's
main course.
yeah. So let's maybe like open the open that discussion up when you get to it. But I do see, there is some people asking about like how do you get clients and so forth.
Okay, cool. So how do you get consistent income and clients? That's literally my next slide. There's one thing that's missing here. As you're talking, I realized I didn't add it, but I'll probably talk about it in a bit. So I want to talk about these three things that have worked for me. One of them is building a referral and partner network. We'll talk about that. Upselling to current clients and offering retainers where possible. I think we just touched on that for a bit. And then the big one, the huge one, the one I'm going to spend a lot of time on is marketing yourself online, which is something that's worked for me. And we'll chat a bit about that. The other one I do want to mention and stress is that one of the benefits with having industry experience and working in the agency world or in the startup world or whatever is that you do get to build relationships that you can leverage when you start your freelancing business. So that's the other benefit of working for someone first, working for a business first, getting the skill, getting the experience, and then also importantly, building those relationships. Because when you do eventually freelance, you can, I don't want to say bank on those relationships, but those relationships can come in handy, all right, if there is an alignment there that makes sense. So that's one thing I didn't add there. When I started freelancing, most of my clients were referrals from the agency that I used to work for, right? So literally my previous agency boss or agency owner would literally tell clients and stuff because he was actually shutting down his business. So I was in a bit of a unique situation, but he was shutting down his business and he literally told his clients, hey guys, here's a guy, he's going to be freelancing, speak to him if you want any help with Webflow and stuff like that. So that's how I started my freelancing business, which was amazing, right? A lot of people don't get to start like that. So I was incredibly lucky and incredibly privileged. So that definitely helped me to kickstart things, to kick things off and not really worry about where I'm going to get clients. That definitely helped. So yeah, it's very important. I would say, for young guys who are still trying to start out, don't overlook the fact that you can actually work in industry for a bit and then start your freelancing career a bit later. Let me just quickly chat about. Yeah.
Sorry, like just to add to that, like I'm glad you mentioned that because like I keep on telling my students this all the time. Do not start freelancing until you're at least intermediate level, because you
Yeah.
are going to cause yourself a lot of pain. You
Yeah.
have no idea how to scope things. You have no idea, like you just haven't gone through the process of building stuff long enough to get a sense for you don't even know what's at the end of this. And also, as you mentioned, I think especially now in a place where remote work is maybe less prevalent, but still very prevalent. I always tell my juniors, like, do not start out freelancing. Also, go out of your way to not, like a job is a job, especially in this market. But if you can work in office, because you learn so much just from overhearing conversations that you're not even a part of. You maybe sit and work here and you hear two people talking behind you, or you see how like this manager deals with that guy or whatever, and you get you like that. To me is like the main thing you get from a job is like you kind of pick up all those things. Other thing as well, like what you mentioned about like transitioning to freelancing from an existing job, is that a lot of times what I actually see happen is that when someone starts freelancing, the company that they worked for sometimes like still uses them on a freelance basis. So when I decided to start freelancing, so that's when I got married. So I was like, I obviously want to spend, and we thought about having kids and stuff. So I wanted to kind of start working from home a bit, so I don't have to go into the office every day. But like when I told the company that I was at that I'm thinking of moving on and whatever, and they said like it would actually be beneficial for them that if I just continued freelancing on some projects still, instead of just a clean break where now I'm gone. So then you're like, cool, okay, maybe like these two things that I worked on, it's maybe too much work to just onboard someone completely new. Maybe I can just continue on that, and then when there's no need for me to continue with that, then whatever.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot. I do see that happen a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how people just go in. I'd be curious whether I don't know anyone who just went in like point blank and were like, I'm going to start getting clients now. And I don't have anything. I don't have any existing networks or relationships, or like, I don't know how you transition into freelance without having existing, like, what would be the word, like networks, in terms of, as you mentioned, you maybe work with someone. What also happens is that exact company that I said that I'm doing retainer work now for 6 years. um, Interestingly enough, the co-founder of the company was one of my juniors, so
Oh
I
wow.
was his senior at some point, and then he kind of left, and he and someone else started their own company and whatever. And he was obviously okay. The Skulk guy was kind of my direct line manager, and like obviously he was obviously, I don't know, like thought I could code and know something about tech. I mean, he's like, let's just get him. Um, and yeah, and that's how I ended up there. So I think a lot of it is also just like because you're working with people in an office, they get a sense of what your work is like, what your approach is
Yeah.
like, and then they can be like, that's what we need. I remember the way this guy approached it. That's what I want.
Mm.
Yeah, sure, I'd be curious to hear if even anyone in the comments, has just gone into freelance from a blank slate and started getting clients. I don't know how you
Yeah.
do that. But yeah, continue, Bulls.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Maybe just to chat about, I've heard of people just going on Fiverr and just starting that way, which for me still makes no sense. I wouldn't recommend Fiverr even to people who are experienced, and I think it's just a terrible platform for
Yeah,
freelancers.
there is a question here from Fabian about Upwork as well, and I do think maybe at some point we need to stop and just talk about things like Upwork,
Yeah,
Fiverr, those type of things. Because yeah,
yeah,
I would also caution people against them, as someone who's used that before as a service, and as someone who tried getting work on there before as well. I I wouldn't recommend it, but we can unpack that a bit later. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Okay, before I move to the next slide, I just want to just mention the importance of building a referral and partner network. So one of the things I've done in my business is I've built relationships with other service providers, other Webflow freelancers, and we have an agreement where if I'm at full capacity and I get a lead or whatever, I pass it on to them. And if they're at full capacity, they do the same. I've also partnered with people that have a different skill set. They focus on a different area in Webflow. So sometimes we'll collaborate on a project and then they focus on that specific part. Yeah, so building relationships with other service providers in your sort of like market and industry is also very important, because you guys can obviously set up an agreement where you arrange how you guys are gonna basically share the load of getting new work and stuff like that. So that's something that's very beneficial. Okay, so I want to focus on how to market yourself online. Let's just go into it. For me personally, in my business, this is the main way I get new clients and new business right now. At the beginning, I was getting a lot of referrals from my previous agency, but now primarily most of my new leads come from my marketing efforts that I do online. So I'm just going to talk about a bit about how to do that. So I primarily focus on LinkedIn. I think it's the best platform for marketing yourself online as a freelancer. I did try Twitter, but I just find Twitter not as robust as LinkedIn. There's just certain features that LinkedIn has that the other platforms don't have. One of them being the fact that you can have an optimized profile, which essentially acts as a landing or a sales page. So features like that. Another cool feature, one of the things that I like, is that a post on LinkedIn can literally circulate for 2 to 3 weeks. On Twitter, it's like 2 hours. I don't know about the other platforms. So I enjoy things like that. So I would definitely highly recommend that you focus on LinkedIn, regardless of whether you're a design freelancer, a development freelancer, or even a marketing freelancer, right? I would definitely say that you focus on LinkedIn. It's a B2B platform. And as freelancers, primarily, we are servicing businesses, whether they're large or small. Now, but before you get onto LinkedIn, it's very important to define your ICP and your offer. ICP stands for ideal customer profile or ideal client profile. As a freelancer, this is one of the first things that you need to do. And again, if you have experience, you've worked in the industry, it's very easy to define your ICP. It becomes easy to define your ICP and your offer. But it's very important to have this, because then you're going on LinkedIn with a strategy. You know exactly who you are speaking to, what problems they have, and then you know exactly what you're going to help them with. Very important. So for me, my ICP, my ideal customer profile clients are design agencies that obviously work with Webflow. And my offer is I offer them Figma to Webflow services and also just Webflow support, etc. All right. So that's my ICP. Now, it doesn't say that that's not to say that I don't work with businesses that are not design agencies, but even if that's the case, it still has to be Webflow related, right? But it's very important to define your ICP and define your offer, because everything that you do on LinkedIn is going to be based on this. It's very important. Okay, then the next thing is cool. So I'm going to do a bit of a walkthrough on my LinkedIn profile just to talk about how you can optimize your profile, if you don't mind, Skulk.
Go for it. Yeah. I'll maybe also pop another. Yeah, I'll maybe pop another quick question on here. That's a pretty good question. Sorry about all the noise in the background.
Sure.
No worry. What is the importance of offering free services when just starting out freelancing? This is an interesting question, and this is one I didn't really anticipate or think about much, but it's an interesting question, and I'd be curious what your thoughts are on it. Would you consider offering free services when you are just starting out? And if so, why or why not?
That's interesting. I feel like when you're going to offer something for free, it sounds like you're either in the learning phase, you're still learning how to deliver your service, and maybe you're also still learning or trying to figure out where the value and the impact of what it is that you're going to be offering. It just sounds like you're still trying to figure things out, right? But when you have experience, I don't see why you should be offering free service, because I don't know. I guess, again, free services for me, it just sounds like that might be for someone who has no experience and hasn't proven their skills enough to get to the point where you can charge. One of the reasons why you charge is because you're confident in your skill set and you're confident in your experience, right? So I'm not saying you shouldn't offer a free service, but if you're offering a free service or you're considering it, that could point to the issue or point to the fact that you're not confident yet about your skill set and you're not confident yet about what it is that you offer, right? So if you are confident about that, then there's no need to consider offering a free service. I don't know, what do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I think like that's pretty spot on, and like that's what I assumed. Like I wouldn't even consider that if I'm like, if I can charge. But I think like it's very hard if you don't have a portfolio of existing work. You can't show anyone this is what I've done, and then saying like, oh, give me 10,000 rand, like, but I can't show you anything I've done. So it depends on what's your flexibility. Some of us are parents and we're in almost 40s. Some of us like literally just got out of matric, taking a gap year or whatever. It depends on what your situation is like.
100%.
If you can afford it financially, it's always really great to not be constrained by money, because like if you have to worry about money, you might pass up on opportunities that would have been amazing growth opportunities. So there might be an opportunity where you can really learn a lot, you can really grow, and like really work on interesting problems, but but there isn't budget for you to be involved in that. And I think there's also value in terms of saying that, being upfront and saying that, I'm still learning. I'm still a junior. Let me do this for you for free, and then no pressure. If you want to use it, go ahead. But also, like, if you're telling me like, we don't really want to use this, but I do think like if you do that, then seek out things that you think would be worthwhile for you to work on. Don't
Yeah.
just be, I offer free services,
Yeah.
tell me what you want, because then
Yeah.
people are going to take advantage of you.
100%.
And exploit you. So if you want to do that, then look at things first and foremost, like in terms of just subject matter that interests you. Like, so
Mm.
maybe you're passionate about animals or whatever, and be like, hey, can I maybe do a redesign for my local SPCA
Yeah.
or whatever? Um, or you're like, okay, there's this nonprofit or something, and they do
Mm.
really cool work, and there's a lot of really cool, interesting problems to solve.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like some stuff that you can do, like with WhatsApp integration, and you can have some
Yeah.
automated messages go out, and like there's really cool stuff to work on and put in your portfolio. Then
Yeah.
be like, also, hey, let me try this out. But don't be, I'm free, who wants work? Because then you're going to
Yeah.
get people who are by definition just like trying to screw people over and trying to get stuff for
Mm.
free.
Mm.
But yeah, like it depends on your situation. But
Mm.
and I give this advice even for people who are looking for full-time employment is if you have the flexibility. I think in this specific climate,
Mm.
economic climate, getting a foot in the door is like the
Mm.
make or break. Getting that first bit of experience. Once you have that, you're good. But having
Yeah.
that LinkedIn profile that has nothing on it, like
Yeah.
that's the killer, man. So if you can
Yeah.
just get a 1 year of something there, whether it's working at an agency or something, if you can
Yeah.
just get in there.
Yeah.
So like I always tell my students as well, just if you can, just say, listen, I'll just come and hang out and I'll make coffee for you guys or whatever. Can I just see what you guys are doing? Maybe even just
Yeah.
frame it as job shadowing. Be like, can I
Yeah.
just come and watch? You don't have to give me work. Just get
Yeah.
in that environment.
Yeah.
And then there might be, oh, we actually need extra help with this thing. Can you maybe help out on this? You are here now in the office or whatever. So yeah, it's tough, man. I don't want to shoot anything down. Everyone needs to do what they need to do at this point.
Yeah.
But like once again, given not all of us have that, I surely don't have the opportunity to do free work at this point with
Right.
2 kids. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I don't know
Yeah.
if
I
you want
think.
to add on that or whether you want to just continue.
Yeah. No. No. I think you are. I agree with you 100%.
Mm,
It's definitely a great way. I think if you position it in such a way that it's going to allow you to learn and to grow in a specific area. I'm even
mm,
thinking for myself, like if I ever had to maybe pivot and offer a different service, maybe I might want
mm,
to offer that for free for a while. If I don't
mm,
know if I wanted to start offering Shopify websites, something I've never done before, by the way.
mm,
Um, I might
mm,
want to do that, a small Shopify website for someone for free.
mm.
But then I'm also in the position where I can do that, right?
Yes.
If the project is small enough.
Mm,
So yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Let me pop your
cool.
screen on here. Let's go.
All right. So I just want to talk about the importance of optimizing your LinkedIn profile. So this is my LinkedIn profile. I'll just talk through it, and feel free to ask questions, Scott. Mine's in dark mode. Yours might not be. It might not look this way. And yeah, just a quick one on LinkedIn. LinkedIn also, the reason why I'm so passionate about LinkedIn, because it's also a great way to get international clients, right? So I should say, and I don't think I did mention this, but most of my clients are international, UK, Australia mostly. Um, and LinkedIn helps me to build relationships with people anywhere on the world, and you can do the same thing too. And that's the beauty about it. If you've got a good offering, you know exactly who you're speaking to, you've got a good portfolio, you've got a good track record, you'll be able to build relationships and get clients anywhere in the world. All right. That's what LinkedIn helps you to do. Yeah, which is massive. For me, that is, yeah, man, I could write a book just on that point alone. But anyway, yeah, so this is my profile, and I just want to talk through it quickly. I'm gonna ignore all these messages here. I didn't see these before we started our chat. So the important thing is the important thing is, in general, make sure that you, let me just scroll down here. Okay, it's very important. I'm scrolling down so that I can have this little section to appear, and I'm going to click on add profile section. So these are all the sections that you can add to your profile. You can add an education section, position, services, skills, and stuff like that. So I've added all those sections on my profile. So make sure that you activate those sections, because on your profile, you might not see the sections that I have here, because you need to enable them, right? So just make sure that you add those sections, right, as I talk about these. Okay, first things first, you need to have a solid profile picture. I took this picture in a professional studio with a professional photographer. I paid a lot of money. I still don't regret it. I'm not saying that you should do the same thing, because we've got AI tools now that can, churn out headshots and make them look professional. So you can definitely do that. I wish those AI tools were around when I was still building my profile. But anyway, you need a professional headshot, right? Good lighting, no pictures with cats and dogs and, your favorite soccer team and stuff like that, unless that's what you freelance in, if that makes any sense. You need to have a good profile pic. And then number two, you need to fill out what we call the LinkedIn banner. And it needs to, again, speak to your target ICP. And it needs to also talk about what it is that you offer. So I'm an expert Webflow developer, and I've got icons here, Figma, right, with an arrow to Webflow. If you're a design agency, you know exactly what that means, right? So when you see that, it's very clear if you are my target ICP, right? So my whole profile is built for my target ICP. Okay, the next important thing that we need to talk about is what we call the headline. The headline is very important. You need to fill it out. It needs to be descriptive. It needs to talk about what you do, or what you offer. So again, I'm a Webflow developer, and I also added here I'm a Webflow certified partner. It's one of the certifications that we have in our space. I put it there so that people can know that I'm not just someone who started like 2 days ago. I've been at this for a while, and I even have some certification to prove it. So what happens is your headline, just to go back here quickly, is what's going to show up in the timeline. So for instance, I've got Alfie here, and then his headline is going to show up as part of his post. Very important. If someone doesn't know you and sees your post, they'll read your name. They'll say Alfie. Oh, who is Alfie? He's a designer and mentor and speaker. Great. Who is Rakan? Rakan is someone who's solving problems with design and AI. So that's how he chose to write his headline. This is Attila. He's an agency's. Okay, that's a little bit long. We over deliver. Webflow developer. Okay, I understand that. So that's why you need to have a headline. It's very important. It shows up in your posts and in timelines of people that are connected to you. Very important to have that. All right. And then next one is fill out your about section. Again, you've got to write it for your target ICP, right? So for me, it's a little bio, Webflow developer, certified. This is my tech stack, my call to action, how to get in touch. You can send me a DM. Very important. All right, this is my services section. LinkedIn is still working on this thing. It's not as robust because I can't add things like Webflow here. So yeah, if LinkedIn allows you to add in services that match what you offer, then definitely go for it. But I just added in your Webflow development. This is what we call the featured section. This is where you can pin things like links and posts, right? And what's cool here is I've actually pinned a little post I made based on my talk that I had last year with Fetsa. So it's actually here because I was actually really excited about it. So it's always on my profile because it's something I want people to see. I thought it was pretty cool. I've also pinned my certification post, and then I pinned a link to my portfolio website. Okay, this is my activity. This is just LinkedIn aggregating all your posts. And then I've listed out my experience. So you must list out your experience here. Where have you worked? What have you done? My education, my licenses, where I volunteered, my skills, and my recommendations. I still need to update these. They're a bit outdated, right? But the basic idea is you've got to fill out every section, because when you do that, then LinkedIn is your profile will rank higher when people are searching for terms that match your profile. So if someone is searching for Webflow developer, my profile now, because it's filled out, right, is going to rank higher. So that's one of the benefits of optimizing your profile, right? And yeah, a profile that ranks higher is just equals more visibility, which is very important when you're playing in the LinkedIn game. So I don't know if there's any questions on that before I jump on to the next slide. I just want to talk about content, how to go about planning your content and what to share on LinkedIn.
So My connection just dropped, but it seems like you kind of were just speeding along nicely. So I'm glad about
Okay.
that. Kids pulled
Okay.
out kids pulled out my router,
Okay. No
as they
problem.
do. But yeah, no, let's get into it. I'm actually curious to hear what your thoughts are on this, because I don't think any content is good content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people just like weekly post like stuff that's clearly AI generated, and I think it would have been better if they just didn't post anything. But yeah, go ahead. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Okay, cool. So this is a snapshot of my content marketing strategy for LinkedIn. Share video, right? Me, Loom video explaining how to do something in Webflow. I do that every Monday. On Tuesday, I share a day in the life post. I take a picture of my workstation and some random picture, and I do a small write up on that. Every Wednesday, I do an educational post, insights on how to work better with Webflow, or how to work better as a freelancer, stuff like that. And then on Thursdays, I share a post about my freelancing journey and story. Now, you don't have to follow this strategy or framework. This is what works for me. And this is what I'm currently doing now. 6 months from now, it might look different, because again, there is no wrong and right way, really, right? But I do want to say though that video content is the holy grail of content marketing, right? If you can find a way to share video about your work, share video about your process, that is huge, because that affords prospects the opportunity to learn about you, to learn about how you think, and also you give people the opportunity to basically build a bond with you and to form a relationship. All right. So video content is absolutely crucial. So for me, I share a lot of video tutorials. Now, one of the ways to do this in such a way that it doesn't overwhelm you, because as a freelancer, you still need to do work, right? Is I don't do this on a daily basis. I batch it. So what I do is I write all my content for the month, including my video tutorials. I do it a month in advance, and then I schedule it on LinkedIn. I just want to show you how to do that. If you go back to your home, so what I do is start a post. If you can start a post, and then whether it's a write up or it's an image, once it's done, I click on this icon here, schedule for later, and then I choose when this post should show up. So what I do is it's the end of February. My March content is blank. So this weekend, I'm going to spend a lot of time filling out my content for the month of March, because I don't have any content planned. So I'm going to do that this weekend, make sure all my content is ready for the month of March. I'm probably not going to have a Sunday. But anyway, and basically, let me just discard this quickly. So I've got a post going out tomorrow. I've got another post going out on Monday. It's another video tutorial. And then I've got another post next week, Monday. All right. So I've got a little bit of time. But yeah, you can schedule your posts ahead of time, so you don't have to be scrounging around looking for ideas and what to share and what to post. So it's very important to make sure that you're always marketing yourself. And on that point, what happened to me last year was I was marketing myself online, sharing posts and content. Then I got so busy that I stopped marketing myself on LinkedIn. And then what happened in my business is my leads started to drop, right? Because a lot of the work I do is project based, right? Projects last for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks at a time. My leads started to drop, right? And it happened gradually, but eventually I saw the dip, and it affected my business. So ever since that's happened, I've doubled down on LinkedIn, and I've told myself I will never stop marketing regardless of how busy I am, because it's the best way for me to stay visible to prospects in my industry, and to stay top of mind, right? And it's also a great way, marketing like this really helps clients to warm up to you, right? It's a great way to warm people up, so that by the time you have a call or you have a conversation, that person is already sold on the idea of working with you. That's why marketing like this is absolutely brilliant for your business. It does take a long time, right? But the nice thing is that when the lead eventually reaches out to you, they're already sold on the idea of working with you. sold. So for me, I've witnessed this, and I were clients that went through my marketing funnel, if you will, right? They'd see my posts, they saw my tutorials for a while, and then when they reached out, they're like sold, right? So I don't know if you have any questions on that, Scott, before I go to the next slide.
No, not that much. I think just a word of warning, as I said from my side, which is that provide value. Like if you're sharing stuff, I try out of my way to, and I don't necessarily do this as a marketing exercise. You know, like I if anything, I have too much work. I'm trying to get rid of work, but like I think if you post anything online, provide value, because I think that leaves a good impression. Like don't go and post like clickbait stuff and like today I saw something about like Figma is dead. Don't use Figma anymore. And I think I commented on it and I just said, yep, just another day of browsing LinkedIn, which got like almost like 50 reactions. But you know, like it's like don't do that type of stuff. Like so you might get like I think there's like you're incentivized in the short term, so you might post like clickbait stuff or like really like hot takes, whatever, and you might get immediately a lot of reactions, a lot of comments. People might engage with it, but you're doing a lot of damage to your perception as someone that's trustworthy. Like if someone is posting that type of stuff all the time and they don't show any type of nuance, they're just posting like hot takes and arguing with people and whatever, I would be very cautious to rely on that person to make good decisions if I hire them as a freelancer. And make sure the stuff you add, like the stuff you post, adds value. Because I can also, you know, like there's an Afrikaans, there's a, I think it's attributed to C.A. Langenhoven, which goes like along the lines of, I'm going to say it in Afrikaans, which is like, bly eerder stil en laat mense dink jy's 'n idioot as wat jy praat en hulle weet jy's 'n idioot. So effectively what it says is that like rather keep quiet and let people think you're an idiot than speak up and prove that you're an idiot. And like no, but I do think like, you know, like there are certain people that I think have done damage to my perception of them just because of the stuff that they share. I don't even mean stuff that's like negative or whatever. I just mean like they share stuff that's not of value to anyone. That's just like opinion pieces and like fluff and AI generated. And I'm like, you know, like if this is kind of what's going on in your like in terms of your own what you think is worthwhile to put out there, like what does that say about me trusting you to make decisions on a project? So rather if you don't have things that are valuable, so like I like the fact that you share like tutorials and stuff, and you aren't just like, oh, you know, a random photo of you at the beach, or people do that thing, and I'm like, cool, I guess. Or they're like, you know, whatever, like people share stuff, or like I would not be able to do what I do today without my dog or whatever, and a photo of the dog, and I'm like, cool story, I guess. But like I think there's value, like that you're putting value out there, and I think people engage with that in a more meaningful way. And I think that also like they tend to appreciate your insight and what you can provide. You know, it's almost like if you're giving this stuff away for free, like imagine what you would get if someone actually pays you to help out. So so just a word of warning there. If you don't really know, don't really go out of your way to figure something out to say if you don't have much to say. Rather spend time refining your opinions and your experience and, you know, and just like your knowledge a bit before you put stuff out there, maybe, is what I would say. Cool. But on that topic, I'm happy for you to proceed, Bullz. Oh, I think we might have lost him. Oh, no, you're back. Cool. Do you just want to share your screen? So you dropped there for a minute, I think.
All right.
If you can just share your screen again, then we can look at it.
Cool. Yeah,
Right.
awesome. Cool. Can you hear me, Scott?
Yes, 100%. Let's do this.
All right. Yeah, just a quick point. So with my video tutorials, just to add on what you were saying, my video tutorials don't get a lot of impressions compared to my other content. They get like 100 impressions, which is like, yeah, compared, I get like 1,000 impressions for my other content. But I get like 100 impressions. But I'm convinced that it's my video tutorials that gets me the work, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and again, because I think it's probably the most valuable piece of content that I share, even
Yes.
though it does not, it doesn't go viral or whatever, or my version of viral.
Yes.
So yeah, you're definitely 100% correct.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Just a few more slides, and then we can just maybe just have a chat. The other important thing to do on LinkedIn is just outside of posting content, you've got to connect with people, comment on people's posts. Don't just say great, like ask questions, build relationships, send people DMs. Not, I mean, obviously you must have a strategy. Because I get a lot of DMs like, hey, just connecting. That's not bad, but it's probably better to be like, hey, Skok, I watched your presentation today about freelancing. I really thought it was great. I wanted to ask this question. If you have time, please just let me know. Right now, you're building a relationship, and if Skok has
100%.
time, he'll answer the
Yes.
question, and then again, don't
Yeah.
inundate Skok because very busy. Maybe 2 weeks again, we're like, hey, by the way, your answer to that question, I actually implemented it. Look what I did. Look where I am now. Right there, you go. You're building a relationship, nice and
Yeah, that's
easy.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, nice and easy. You're not, for me, what's worked for me on when it comes to online networking, because that's what we're talking about now, is just really not trying to get anything from anyone, regardless of whether they can offer me something. Like if I'm engaging with Skulk online, I'm not trying to finesse the conversation so that we can get to a point where we can talk about work and stuff. I'm just like genuinely trying to get to know who Skulk is, right? And I'm just trying to focus on the conversation if there is a conversation to be had, right? So it's just be a human the same way you would in a real life situation when you meet someone in a networking environment. There's no need to be like asking, so hey Scott, is there any work? Do you know any opportunities? Don't do anything like that.
Yeah. And I think it's also like, don't discount like people that are kind of at your level, or maybe even a junior. As I mentioned, like one of my juniors started a company, and then they said like, hey, cool, like, do you want to, you're kind of like the only person I know that's kind of pretty senior in front end. Do you want to help out? Or even people at your level, like what Bullz mentioned, like I think what happens a lot with me is, so either someone is a developer, because I do both design and development. So either someone's a designer or a developer, and they get pulled into a project, and then the client's looking for someone else, and or work overflows, and then they're like, hey, cool, do you want to help out on this? Another thing as well, I think is also worth noting, is that there are some people that are just like serial startup founders or entrepreneurs or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people like that I've done work. I've probably done like 8 different projects for them, because every single year they're just starting something new. And then it's like,
Yeah.
cool, they left their previous project, but now they're starting this new startup or whatever, and they
Yeah.
need designs, or they need. So I think like those type of people are also really good to have in your network, who are just like continually just doing new stuff, and they're just pulling you in, like when they're
Yeah.
starting new stuff. Yeah. So also just a quick FYI, I see that your sharing your screen button is there at the bottom, so you might just want to click the
Okay.
hide on that. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, no. That I definitely agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. I want to move on to my next slide. So again, I've seen freelancers, not a lot of them, that don't have websites or portfolio websites, and that's just standard. You need to have a home for your work somewhere, right? LinkedIn is great. We just spoke about the LinkedIn profile. It can and it does act as a sales page, but you need to go a bit further, because this is how you also establish that you are sort of like a trusted, uh, or that you should be trusted, right? I'm not saying that anyone who has a website should be trusted, but if you go out of your way to ensure that you have a website, I think it does help you as a freelancer. So I have a
And just
website.
to
This is
quickly add
yeah,
to that as well, I think it's important to make a distinction here because I do think some people might misunderstand that. Is that this is only if you're looking to do freelance work. Like this is very different if you're applying for like a job, because
yeah,
I
yeah,
get asked that a lot. Like, do I need a personal website? Um, and the answer is, if you're applying for a job, no, I don't think so. It's more important to have links to cool stuff that you've built and just
yeah,
include those links in an email or in your CV or whatever if you're applying for a job than to have some
yeah,
cruddy website that you put together in 5 minutes and it actually looks really bad because you felt you
yeah,
needed a website. If you're
yeah,
freelancing and you're offering your services on a freelance basis, it's a very different story. You need some type of landing page, some type of place where people can go and see
yeah,
this is what I offer. Yeah, because you're not
yeah,
just going to randomly, you're not going to ask people, can I send you my CV? You know? They need to come to you. So yeah,
yeah.
I just want to make that distinction.
No, 100%. And I think for me, because I'm in the Webflow space and Webflow is all about websites, I and I'm also a freelancer, just like you correctly stated. If I didn't have a website, it might. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I just think for me, in my particular case, in Webflow, we build
Because you're
websites.
building landing pages, that's what you do. So I
Yeah,
would be very skeptical if someone who advertises a service of building landing pages doesn't have a landing page for himself.
yeah,
But what I often see is people who are, for example, they're like backend devs or whatever,
yeah, yeah,
or they work more on apps. So they don't really do landing pages and stuff. They work more on like interactivity and add to cart and those type of things. And then they do a website, but the website looks awful. And I
mm,
think sometimes because that's not what they're good at, and I think they do
yeah,
themselves a disservice. Then rather
mm,
just include links in your CV or whatever. But as you rightfully pointed out, if you're in the business of building a landing page, it would be
yeah,
very sus if like you didn't have one for yourself. Yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah, no, totally agree with that. So my last two slides, I just want to talk about pricing and sales, and then we can talk about anything else that you want to talk about, Skulk. Yeah. So again, I'm not a pro, but I'm just gonna share things based on my experience. So the ways that you can price your services, obviously, you can price yourself on an hourly basis. You can price yourself on a fixed basis, like project basis, which is more of what I do. I do a lot of project based pricing, which is based on the scope, how many pages, what needs to be built, how many animations, how complicated are they, right? So that's how I mostly price my services. The other way of pricing, which I've always found fascinating, is value based pricing, where your pricing is attached to an outcome, right, that is valuable to a client that they will receive because of the work that you do, right? So if your work is going to help a client get 2% more conversions on their e-commerce website, and that 2%, could equal, I don't know, 500,000 rand in sales, right? Then you can charge, I don't know, 50 to 100,000 rand, right? Or, so then there's a okay, so I pay this vendor 50K and then possibly 2% more conversions. So basically that's value-based pricing. Again, I don't have experience with that, but I find it very fascinating, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I just wanted to mention it here. I don't know if you have any thoughts on pricing strategies.
Me personally, I just do retainer. I refuse to do, but I'm in a position where I can say I just do retainer. I've just been burned too
Right,
much, and like I don't want to argue with people about like, is this done or is this not done? I
right.
just yeah. But like I think we can definitely also have a conversation here afterwards. I don't know if you have a slide of your last slide is on that, but like about contracts and those type of things as well, because I've had to
Yeah,
learn a lot of stuff the hard way.
yeah. No, my last slide is on sales, but we can definitely talk about contracts. Okay, so just a brief say, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not a guru, but I do have some tips, and again, based on my experience, how to conduct yourself in a sales conversation. So my process when it comes to having a sales conversation with a prospect, and my system is I always arrange a web call via Google Meet. I've got a Calendly link that I send out. They pick a time, right? based on the time that I've specified. We get on a web call. First thing I do is I establish some kind of rapport, right? Is there any common thing that I can find that we share in common? Did you go to the same, did you grow up in the same town as me? Do you like the same soccer club as I do? Arsenal? Any Arsenal fans out there? So it's very important to establish rapport. It's a great icebreaker, right? So I always try to do that. And then we just, what I do again, I'm not a sales guru. Jump into what they need help with, and we discuss that. And it's very important to ask questions to gain clarity, to understand what they need help with. And to also just ascertain if you're a good fit, right? Because you're not always going to be a good fit for everything that people need. And I'm always not a good fit. So it's very important to find that out. And also to have the integrity and honesty to be able to say, look, I don't think I'm a good fit for this particular project. So as much as I'm in Webflow, there's certain things that I'm not well versed in. There's certain things that I can't do, right? So it's very important for me to be honest about that and say, look, I don't think I'm a good fit, but I do know someone. I can point you in the right direction. So it's very important to be honest when you can tell that this is, this project might not be for you. And then the last thing I want to say on this before I give it to Skulk is what I've learned to do is to talk about the budget as soon as possible, right? Now, when I was starting out, I was very uncomfortable about talking about the budget because I felt like I was going to scare the client away, the potential client away. But I've learned now to give a budget range in the first call, right? And what I try to do is I try as much as possible to run away from sending proposals, because proposals take a lot of time to set up. And for the most part, my experience, people are going to ghost you when they feel that the budget is too much or whatever. Or when they feel that, no, there's someone else who can do it for cheaper. So you work on this thing and then, people don't get back to you. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do proposals. I'm just saying, at the very least, start talking about the budget as soon as possible in that first discovery/sales call. And for me, what that looks like is after rapport, after talking about the project and what they're trying to do, I give them a budget range. Even if I still need to go and sit down and really think about it, I do give them a budget range so that we can ascertain, should we continue moving forward with this conversation, right? Is there a fit here? Because there are two things we need to figure out in order for this thing to work for both of us. Is number one, I need to be a good fit for the scope of work, because that's how you benefit as the client. But then you need to be a good fit for my budget, because that's how I benefit as a freelancer who's running a business, right? So we both have to win, and we need to make sure that there's an alignment there. You don't want a situation where, right, you can do the work, but the budget doesn't fit you as a business, because then you're not going to win as a service provider. And then the opposite is the budget fits, but you can't do the work. Then the client loses. That's also not good for the client. So there needs to be a balance there, and there needs to be alignment. So yeah, one of the things I want to end on really is just talk about money as soon as possible. I used to be uncomfortable with this. I am still a little bit uncomfortable, but I force myself to talk about that. And sometimes, and what's happened to me literally recently is one of the clients just said, look, that's too much. And then what I say now and what I said then in that sales call, I was like, that's okay. I am aware of other freelancers that I know of. I'm connected to them, and I can get you in touch with people that might fit your budget, right? So I'm in a position now where I don't back down on my pricing, and I'm okay to lose a client, right? And I'm not bragging and I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I just do think it's important for you to own your pricing, own your budget expectations, because that's how you build your business. That's how you grow your business. Otherwise, you're running a charity, right? But at the same time, make sure that you can actually deliver and do the work so that the client can benefit, right? So yeah, and don't be offended if someone says they can't afford you or you're too expensive. That's fine. I get that. I get that from time to time, and clients are allowed to say that, potential clients. And what I say is, that's okay. I can try and connect you with someone who might be a better fit for your budget. And that's literally what I said to another client, who then ended up coming back and being like, you know what, actually, we might want to work with you. And just another question on that, another point on that is, you know, I try what I'm gonna do now, because I actually haven't done this, is to educate clients on, right, there's charging for the project, and then there's also charging to make sure that the project gets done well, right? So it's not always a good idea to look for a cheap solution, because if it does not get done, if it's not done well, it might need to be done again, which is going to cost it. Then there's more money that needs to be spent. So um yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm confident in my pricing, because I'm not just charging to do the job. I'm charging you to make sure that it gets done well. But yeah, that's my chat. I don't know if you want to add anything on that,
Mm.
Skulk.
Yeah, a ton. I just want to be cognizant of time. So just quickly, and I think like it's also like I've been in a lot of situations where it's like I'm clearly overqualified. You know,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
it's not that it's like they are too cheap or I'm charging too much. It's just like what I will build is probably too intense for what they
mm,
need right now. Maybe they just need like a basic um, landing page with like an
yeah,
email where people can contact them instead of some insane like interaction thing where you submit a request and you book a time or whatever. You know, sometimes like it's just a mismatch of what you can do with your
yeah,
skill set and where your time is actually worth spending and
yeah,
what they actually require. And then, you know, it can go either way. Like they might actually just require someone. And I think it's also like, don't be offended by that. You might be in that place in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You're just not there now.
yeah,
And I think also be open with clients if so if this is the first time you're doing this thing, or you know, and then like negotiate with them, be like, okay, I don't have a lot of experience in this,
yeah,
but I think like I can add value here, but like let me give you a bit of a reduced rate or something. Let's figure something out. um One thing I just quickly want, I don't want to go too much into contracts, but I think one thing I would do want to chat about, and that is because of like a conversation I had with someone who's kind of more in the UX business analysis side of things. She did work for a client,
yeah,
and we spoke, and she kind of said like, okay, so the client is now saying that um, so firstly the client asked her to kind of list out all the work she did, and now the client is disputing that, saying that no, that it doesn't seem like that's not, you know, worth the actual amount of money that you're actually charging me. And then she said, okay, I'll maybe do a bit of a reduced, and they said that's still too much and so forth. And you know, and they have a contract, and legally, like I guess legally that contract is binding, and you can take them to labor court or whatever if you really want to. I think if
yeah,
you do international work, good luck. You know, like it's there's nothing you can do. If the guy lives in the US or whatever and he's not like honoring the contract, I don't really know what you can do. Um, but if it's like in South Africa and whatever, you can take them to labor court, and then you know, like then the question is, do you ever pursue that? And if you do, when do you? To me, I've had instances where I just kind of sunk, like I just, you know, I just sunk my losses, and I was just like, this person is not going to pay, and I'm not going to spend this is, and I'll see this as a learning opportunity, and I won't get myself into this situation again. But like this guy is clearly not going to pay me, and I'm just going to be like causing frustration and whatever, and I'll just move like for myself, and it's going to be I'm going to get angry and whatever. Have you been in situations where you've just been like, okay, I'm just moving on, like nothing's going to come of this?
So just to clarify, are you saying that with this story, this lady had already done the work?
Yes, and like contractually an amount was agreed upon. Like it's clear contract breach of contract. But I
Mm,
mean like it's a bit of a, you know, like I guess to a certain degree the client's kind of calling her bluff that she's not going to take them to labor court. Because I
mm,
wouldn't, because it's you'll probably spend more money in labor court just kind of, you know, winning the case and whatever than they probably owe you. So um I've been in situations like that where I've just been like, ugh, you know, like I'm going to move on with my life. This sucks. I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to make sure. Yeah, and I'm curious whether you've been in situations where you either said like, okay, cool, I'll just take what I can get, or it's fine. Like, I don't know, just get out of my life. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. And I've had situations before where, where I've done that, and then people contact me afterwards saying that, oh, they need help. I'm like, bruh, you still owe me money. Why the hell are you contacting me? Get out of my inbox. I'm going to block you.
No, that's
So yeah, I'd
crazy.
be curious whether you've been in situations like that where you were just like, I'm just moving on. Like, I'm not going to get this money, or not going to get all of the money.
Yeah. Fortunately, I haven't. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, but fortunately, I haven't been in a situation like that. For me, my situation was just a project just went scope creep. A 1 month project became a 6 month project.
Mm,
I got paid in the end, but I basically lost money
mm, mm,
because of the time it took. But I haven't been in that situation.
mm,
I do
mm,
think maybe this might not apply to all situations, but with the more you do this, the more you can suss out potential problems.
mm,
I was on a sales call a few weeks back, and I declined that client. And as we are talking about the scope of the work, he was saying things like, this animation should be easy, right? This shouldn't take a lot of
mm,
time. Like he was just trying to like not downplay,
mm.
but really just make
Yes.
the work.
Force
And
you,
I
like
was,
almost make you feel bad for charging a lot of money.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I was like, look, just because I
Mm,
can do it, it doesn't mean that it's simple. And it doesn't mean
mm,
that, I can't charge whatever money that I think I should charge for. So there's certain things the more work in this space, you'll be able to suss out things and you should definitely listen to your intuition when you sense that something's not right here and raise those questions like, hey, by the way, is there any problem with this? I sensed a little
mm,
bit of tension when we spoke about this. Is there anything you want to chat about? I'm open.
mm.
So yeah, that's probably all I can say about
Yeah.
that.
But like, yeah, I like, and I really like your point of like chat about money first thing, because someone who is gonna have a problem with you bringing
Yeah,
up money immediately is
always.
gonna have a problem all the way through the project. Like, it's like, rather
Yeah.
save yourself pain. And I think a lot of those cases, it's just like, and I think it's also good to get a handle on whether they actually believe in the value you're providing.
Ah,
So
yes.
like, so I don't, so I work for a lot of SaaS products and whatever. And interestingly enough, we actually get a lot of Webflow people to build the landing pages and stuff, because like, it's just like overkill for the engineers that are actually building the SaaS service. And like, most of those cases, like, they like, the team is just willing to throw money at it, because they're like, you know we really like, there's a really good product here, and like, people like people, this is going to add a lot of value, and we really want to actually like advertise this,
Yeah.
and we want to get people, and we are convinced that by really like putting this front and center, people are going to be like, this is a cool thing, I want to sign up for this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people haven't validated their ideas yet, so they're scared to commit. So they're trying to save money. They're like, because I don't really know if this is a good idea or not. So at the very least, I don't lose a lot of money. And like, that's not your problem. If they haven't validated their idea and they don't know if they should put money towards this idea, they need to figure that out first, and then come to you and say, I'm willing to put the money down.
100%.
So you really, and I think it's hard if you don't have any work to do that.
Mm,
But
mm,
it's like, also, yeah, man, like, it's you like, it's just like, it's not worth it emotionally. um
mm.
Cool. So there's a couple of really great questions here. So
Yeah, sure.
Sam says, I completed a project. The client was satisfied. However, after hiring a new party, he decided to change the entire project and requested a refund. He even threatened to contact the police. What? Did you refund him? Oh no. Like, so, but also, like, I guess, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the context is there. I would have not refunded him, but I don't know what the context is. Like, are we talking about 5 rand? Are we talking about 5 million rand? Like, like, what's at stake here? Yeah, that's crazy, man. But yeah, I've never had someone come back for asking for a refund.
That's
But
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I wonder, yeah, I don't know.
And
That's
I think it's
in my
also,
mind.
I think it's also like, it helps to scope work accordingly. So to say like, let me do a small piece of this, and I think that's also like you're talking about sales and whatever. I don't really do much sales of my services because most of my work I do a really small initial scope to see whether I'm a good fit and whether I'm happy working with you. So if someone wants to do something, let's figure something out like really small in scope. Let's do it. You pay me money for that. We agree on amount, and then we decide: do we want to do the full blown thing?
Wow.
So like I've had a lot of success with that. It saves you a lot of time, like negotiating and whatever. Just
Yeah.
saying like, let's make a small investment. Let's just go do 1 week of retainer, see how it turns out, and then we make a call.
Mm.
Yeah, I've done that as well. I mean, I think that kind of prevents stuff like asking for refunds or whatever, because then
Yeah.
they just don't proceed if they're not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you need to also understand that you're asking people to take a jump and take a risk.
Yeah.
And like any ways that you can ease that is
Yeah.
beneficial for both of you.
Yeah.
Because I also understand that if someone's contracting me to do work, they're taking a leap of faith that I'm
Mm.
not just going to not do anything and then say, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to deliver. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because there are
Uh,
people like that.
yes. Yes. There's another one here. Like, whoa, who are all these people asking for refunds?
Actually, I have plenty of
Yeah.
these
Yeah. But
milestones
I,
and also people to sign off on
yeah.
design.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
guess you learn the hard way. Like I've also lost a lot of money just from making mistakes in terms of not agreeing on things or whatever. There's
Yeah.
another great question here about how do you. This is a good question, and I don't know if I have a great answer to this. I can maybe give some light into some insights into what you shouldn't do. But so, how do you find like mentors or connections and so forth? So, I can say like, don't just message people out of the blue.
Mm.
Don't be like, I get a ton of these where it's like, hey Skulk, I see you really do this type of work.
Yeah.
I'm an inspiring developer, whatever. Can you perhaps mentor me?
Mm.
And like I think like but that yeah, don't do that. Like I've mentored a lot of people. I've invested a lot of my time in mentoring people, but I
Mm.
do that on the condition that I cross paths with someone and I see this person like really, they
Mm.
really set up for success here. They just
Mm.
need someone to give them a bit of guidance.
Mm.
So I don't think it's something that can be forced. If you cross paths with someone who sees your potential and they're like, I really want to help you out here and I really want you to help you unlock your potential, and they're willing to
Mm.
like, don't like, also don't message people saying, can I pay you to mentor me or whatever.
Mm.
I don't like, that's not why I do mentoring. Also, like what you would be able to pay me for mentoring, I would earn more just on a contract project per hour. So like, don't force it. Don't just message people out of the blue.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can increase your odds of being in situations where someone's like, hey, like,
Yeah.
like I really like, I like your attitude, and I think you
Yeah.
have a lot of like potential, and like you just need that little final push, and I'm willing to help you and guide you through that.
Mm.
Like you do that by just showing up, being in
Yeah.
places, attending meetups,
Mm.
attending events, talking to people. And once again, like, don't expect anything. A lot
Mm.
of times I talk to people, I've met people, and then 4, 6, 7 years down the line, I go for a job interview and I'm like, hey, you're that guy from that other thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, how are you doing? Like, and that immediately, like, it's just like start
Mm.
building connections, but build connections
Mm.
for the sake of building connections.
Yeah.
Don't build connections for the sake of getting something, because people are onto that. And
Mm.
when you get a feeling that like someone is, they're trying to sell some angle here, like immediately,
Yeah.
it's like, no, bro, like I'm not, yeah, like I don't have time for this. Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are, Bulls.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think showing up is definitely the keyword there. Showing up is because I think most people don't focus on that. They don't show up.
Mm,
I mean, look, it's important to understand that no one owes you anything,
mm,
right? No one owes you opportunities. Even
mm,
if you have a degree, even if you have a qualification, no companies are indebted to you because you studied. You know what I mean? So I do feel like some students and some whatever graduates have this expectation. Hey, I studied, so hire me. It's like, no, that's it doesn't work like that, right? Like, like we're still social animals, we're still human beings, we still want to work with people that we like, that we know, that we trust, and that building that takes time, right? So showing up helps you to build likability, to build trust. Yeah, so definitely just everything you said, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, great. There is another question. When you approach a potential client, do you just send them your website with your work, or is there more information that you need to provide them? So, from my side, I can't really speak to this. It's been years since I approached someone.
Yeah.
More often than not, like, people approach me from word of mouth or whatever. I can't. I think the last time I sent anything was even before COVID. So yeah, I don't know whether you actually approach people, Bulls, and say like, listen, this is what I offer, this is what I can do.
No, I don't send direct outreach. I don't outreach like that. I mean, I would say that the idea is to work yourself to get into a position where you don't have to do that. And again, everything I spoke about LinkedIn marketing, putting your content, engaging with people, helps you to get to that position where you don't have to. Like some of the clients, one client I got this year, I didn't have to out. They saw one of my posts, checked my profile, looked at my website, sent me a DM, we got on a call. I didn't have to do any of the sort of like reaching out.
Yeah, word of mouth is the way to go, but like it's more often than not, like it's if you've already have a bit of an established career and you've worked at companies and then you go freelancing. I really don't know how people just do this, going straight into it with nothing. Here's a good question. I've been freelancing and find that because of my freelancing involvement, I've contributed to various projects now getting off the ground. At what point do I qualify to ask for reimbursement? Yeah, I don't want to taint your answer here because I have some strong feelings, but I'm curious what you would say. So effectively, they've done work for free. The work they've done have kind of reaped rewards, and like it's actually been able to help the company or get something off the ground or whatever. At what point can you be like, okay, I'm not doing this for free anymore, can you pay me now?
With the same client that you're getting
I
results
would
for.
assume yes. Yeah, various projects now getting off the ground. Yes. So I would assume you're doing work for
Well,
free for a project or whatever, and then that project actually starts becoming successful.
what I would do first thing is make sure you get a client testimonial or you somehow record that transformation, right? It's very important because you can use that
Yeah.
in the next call, with the next client. So record that, because I ask my clients to give me a text-based testimonial, then I put it on my website, but you don't have to do that. It could be a video, it could be what is the transformation, so that in the next call, with the next client, you're like, hey, look, I just helped this client. We did this, and this is the thing. So
That's
that's the first thing you
amazing.
can
Yeah.
leverage. You can leverage that, which is for me the most valuable thing, apart from getting
Yes.
the money. And then, of
Yeah.
course, I think you can start having the conversation. It's like, hey guys, look, maybe I'd like us to have a conversation about some form of reimbursement. That this thing is working, as you guys can see. I do good work, as you guys have noticed. It gets results. Let's have that conversation. Now you have to make sure that you're not afraid of losing them as
Yes.
a potential client, whatever. If they say no, we're gonna get someone else to do this for free, then it's like, okay, cool, right? But if you're confident enough, and you should be, because you're getting results, by the way, so that's enough for you to go and start being
Yeah.
like, hey guys, look, I got this result for these people. I can do the same for you.
Yeah, I would sort of, from my side, I like the idea of kind of getting some, like asking, I think asking them if you can use that as a case study. I think
Yes,
that is worth more than any amount of money they can pay you. Because for the
100%.
rest of your career, you can point
Yeah,
people to that and say, this is what I offer. Do you want
yeah,
this?
yeah.
That's amazing. Because I think in a lot of cases, you have to sign NDAs and whatever, and you can't share what you're working on. So you're kind of in a situation where, like, even all the work that I can show people is from like 7-8 years ago, because all the recent work I've signed contracts where I'm not allowed to share the work that I worked on. And so, but in that case, if you've been doing it for free, it would be very hard for them to say you're not allowed to talk about this. So because like usually an NDA would be part of the actual contract negotiation. So like that's a very good case. And I think that's also a really good like reason to do something for free. Like as I mentioned, you know, like let's say you want to approach the SPCA or whatever, do it with the idea that you're going to use this as a case study. Record everything, record the discussions that were made, design decisions, and use that and build a PDF or a web page or whatever, and use a case study and say, this is how the process went, this is what I provided, this is what we ended up with, and so forth. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I didn't even think of that. Then in terms of charging someone, deciding when am I going to ask money now, I would just mentally completely separate work that I do for free and work that I do to get money. Like I would go into that expecting that this is going to be a free thing, and this is something I'm doing for free, and there's no opportunity here for this ever to make money. And then the other thing is, if it is the case where you've actually added a lot of value and the thing is doing quite well now, if you just say, like, put it in their hands. So if you say, I can't, like, this has been cool, I've learned a lot, I really liked working with you guys, but unfortunately I can't do this for free anymore, like I have bills to pay and whatever, so we have to kind of like finish this up, we have to like close this agreement, I can't do this anymore. If they are convinced of the value, then they'll be like, hey, how about we actually figure something out in terms of actually paying you to do this? I've been in those situations before. I've been in situations before, way back when I was like still very young. Not even in the world of tech, but in kind of other stuff that I pursued and so forth, where I did volunteer work. And they were like, when I said I can't volunteer anymore, they're like, can we actually just pay you to keep doing it? So put the ball in their court. But I think like if you are trying to wangle money out of something that's free, I think you're in for pain and you're in for burning bridges and whatever. I would just say I can't do this anymore. I can't do this for free anymore, and leave it up to them. If they want to be like, cool, awesome, thanks for all the free work, then that's it. Maybe see if you can get something else out of it. Like I said, like Bull said, see if you can get a testimonial. See if you can get something that you can just use going forward from this experience. But yeah, like I wouldn't even go down that route, figuring out how can I now actually make money from this. Cool. All right. I think that about sums it up. We have been going at this for an hour and a half now. Like the response has been amazing and the questions have been amazing. I would also not be opposed to doing one of these again. Maybe pulling someone else in as well that does freelance work. So I know, for example, Liesel does kind of part-time work, more like in a kind of product owner type capacity, and so forth. And I know some other people that also do a bit of freelance work. Maybe even someone like Ewald, who's just been doing freelance work forever. And like I don't know if you know him, Ewald Horn. He always posts this crazy stuff on LinkedIn, and like I'm convinced that like he's doing the reverse psychology thing, where the crazier the stuff that he posts, like the more people think this guy has to be really good, because otherwise he wouldn't post all this crazy stuff and make all these jokes. And yeah, so but I do think he is like, yeah, well, you know it, man. But like, yeah. So also maybe Candice as well. I did share a link to a talk that Candice did at DevConf maybe 2 years ago about how to market yourself as a developer. I think that'd be great to have like another follow up to this as well. Some other people in the room as well. Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome. But thanks so much, Bullz. Like this was really great. I don't know if you want to maybe leave any final thoughts or just say where people can reach out to you or anything.
I mean, I'm glad to be here again. But if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's my platform of choice.
You should know his profile now inside out. So just find the one with that photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. Oh no, someone said yes, please, for the Eval talk. Oh no. Okay. I don't know if we want to open that can of worms. Anyway. All right. Okay, cool. Cheers. Cheers, guys. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Thanks so much for sharing, Bulls. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.